the audience have two questions in their mind, either consciously or subconsciously. Firstly, is this person a professional? And do I want or need to know more? And if you can trigger them in the first 20 seconds on these two questions, being professional, having a plan from the first second, and then can you trigger their interest? Is there something that you can intrigue people with in the first 20 seconds? You hit these two buttons, I think there's a great chance that they will increase the amount they listen over the rest of the pitch.
You're listening to Getting It Wrong to Get It Right.
David, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks, Joe. Really, really happy to be here.
Doing my research, something that sparked in me. Do you know, we both used to work for Canon. Indirectly, I used to sell photocopiers and their fax machines.
I also worked in the fax department many years ago. So that is so-called back in the day, I think, right?
Looking at some of your stuff, a lot of your posts, I've been following you for a while. You're a sought-after guy, busy man.
Well, that's the goal anyway.
That's the goal. You help companies, people, individuals make that right pitch.
That's right. Actually, I started with startups. A lot of startups have to pitch in 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and they have to pitch the whole business. So I started working out how to help startups do that, and then took the tools and started applying them for companies as well, and for individuals.
So it was originally, you started off the idea of the elevator pitch for startups.
Well, my company's called Best 3 Minutes, and that's because startups have to pitch in 3 minutes quite often. And a 3-minute pitch is actually a pretty good one because it's short enough for it to not be too much detail, that people don't lose track, but it's long enough to tell a bit. You can tell a little bit of what you're working on, and you can communicate what kind of person you are, what kind of professional you are. So that's the 3-minute pitch. And then I think of the handshake pitch, for example, that's a 30 seconds. You're at a network event, someone says, what do you do? And being able to communicate that in 3 or 4 short, sharp sentences, that's a platform for an engagement and communication.
I say when I'm doing some one-on-one mentoring with people, it's all about clarity, really getting that message. And you can talk about the 3-minute pitch or the 30 seconds, but you could work on that for hours to get it right.
Yeah, it's actually easier to do a 1-hour presentation than it is to create a 3-minute pitch.
It is.
You can just expand, whereas 3-minute pitch, you have to choose. Every single word is almost a choice. So it's challenging to make things shorter, but the fact is nobody's got more time. Nobody wants it more complex. Exactly what you say. People are looking for clarity and as quickly as possible.
And where did it all start? Like, when did you decide to say, right, I want to get into this business. I want to help companies or people speak and be successful?
Well, when I worked for Canon, I worked there for 16 years, and I had a bit of a reputation for being good at presentation. And I left in 2009, and to be honest, a period of complete uncertainty followed. I'd gone through the company very stable in Canon. Then I had 5 years where I did 5 jobs. I got fired from 2 of them. And those were firings that weren't like, hey, we're reorganizing. It was more like, hey, there's the door, please use it. And, that was quite a shocker when I'd had this stable corporate career. And I was really at the stage where, like, what do I do next? And I wrote down 7 things that I cared about. And one of them was presentation training. And I knew that was probably the thing that I would like to do best, but I wasn't sure if I could make a business out of it. But the thing that made the difference was that I started working with a startup company called Startup Bootcamp. And that was where I learned this very short, sharp pitch. And for some reason, this combination of, coaching, I love training people, I love coaching people, presentation, fascinated by the impact it has on people's lives and their careers, and then making it short. This trio seemed to just fit.
Do you want to stop selling and start truly growing your business? Check out our free resources. Attract the right clients and close more deals and elevate your business to the next level. Visit joedalton.ie. We're here to make it happen. Let's grow together. Like myself, I keynote now, and I love speaking. I do get up there and I make the people laugh, and I have them all writing and taking notes, and it's really fun when you get into it. For me, I think I'm just a little bit of a natural with it. People out there and say, oh, I'm terrified of speaking and I wouldn't be able to do that. And I'm shocked. So how do you get people to overcome that?
Having a a set of tools that helps you take a number of actions to make sure you're ready. And, I believe everybody can at least make a good professional pitch, a good professional presentation. But, it just takes a lot of work. And in order to do the right work, you just need the right tools. So that's what I've been looking for over the last 5 years, is what helps people make a better pitch. Then the next thing is you can do all the preparation in the world, but if you're still scared or nervous, it can block you. So I've also researched and found 6 or 7 different things that people can do. And that's physical, actual things that you can do, which can reduce your nerves and help you get back in control.
Is that like a rabbit's foot in your pocket, is it?
Yeah, that's pretty physical. No, it's stuff like, for example, learning the first 60 seconds. Quite often we plan the first thing we're going to say, but actually we've planned the second thing we're going to say. The first thing is that you stand up and you think, hey, I should be a bit polite and say I'm happy to be here and blah, blah, blah. And that's the bit that we don't plan. And that's the bit that can go wrong, because the moment of maximum stress. So when you stand up, have a plan from the very first word. And, if you make a 20-minute presentation, it doesn't mean you should memorize the whole thing, but definitely the first minute is the moments of highest stress. If this goes well, the rest of the presentation has a really high chance of succeeding. And that 60-second nerve buster it's the nearest thing to a silver bullet to solving the nerves problem. But there's loads of other things you can do as well.
It's crazy, actually, because in the sales workshops that I run, I tell the sales guys, your first 2 opening lines are the most important when you go into a business. So before you even go into a business, what are you going to say? You need to have something that gets the person to go, tell me more. It has to be creating that curiosity, and they want to know more. And it's crucial. Those first 2 lines is, I'm sure you talk to people about presentation. They start off, you do a boring example, and there out comes the mobile phones in the audience. How disheartening is that to someone up speaking? Jeff Smith, who is an international speaker, said to me, Joe, there's no such thing as a bad subject. It's just how it's delivered. Like, accounting can be interesting if you have the right speaker.
Yeah. No, I think the audience have 2 questions in their mind, either consciously or subconsciously. Firstly, is this person a professional? And do I want or need to know more? And if you can trigger them in the first 20 seconds on these 2 questions, being professional, having a plan from the first second, and then can you trigger their interest? Is there something that you can intrigue people with in the first 20 seconds? You hit these 2 buttons, I think there's a great chance that they will increase the amount they listen over the rest of the pitch.
David, when did you realize that you had a breakthrough? When did you kind of go, I have something here?
Yeah, it's funny because, honestly, we nearly went bankrupt. Actually, we had a mortgage from a past corporate life, which didn't fit our new life. We had a young family. I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. So I started this business in between their birth. And we were burning my wife's savings, which took her 20 years to build, very, very fast. We burned 80% of it in 2 years. As I can remember calling my wife one time and saying, I think we hit the U-turn. And I think it was really when I got repeat customers. So customers who I'd served 1 year, they came back. And then secondly, there were 2 people talking about me when I wasn't there. Then there were 2 people I didn't know. So somebody called me that I'd never met and said, I was recommended by this person, and I'd never met that person either. And I think that's a reflection of you're on the right track somehow. You must be doing something that causes people to talk about the work that you're doing, even when you're not there.
Yeah. Good things that you're doing.
Yeah, ideally good things.
Good
If it's
thing.
bad things, then you're out of business.
How did you find those new clients? You basically were reinventing yourself after a corporate career. Like, how did you go out initially? Was it networking? Were you doing a lot on LinkedIn? Or how were you initially building up your reputation to get people to raise their hand of awareness?
It was all of the above, really all of the above. I started off doing free work. I was in my mid-40s, and I was doing free work on a Wednesday evening for some kind of network group, and half the people didn't turn up. Those kind of things were really normal in the early days. And I used LinkedIn. I must say LinkedIn has been a real big plus for me. I got a lot of business through that. I do think the key is to share value, and not always be looking for the buck. but to be able to share stuff, sometimes for free, where, you're just sharing online, you're sharing short video, something that people can actually do something with, so that you position yourself as, I provide people tools. I give them things that they can actually do to improve their skills. And I think the more that you kind of shift this pay line, the better it is. It's a thin line because you don't want to give everything away.
You can end up giving everything away. And
Yeah. But I do have a couple of free tools. I have a free app, for example. I have a thing called the Pitch Canvas. These are things which, of course, people sign up for a mailing list. I'm rubbish at using my mailing list, but that's something else. But 20, 30 people every day download my free tools. The app's been downloaded, I think, 5,000 times or something. And that means that people are getting a new interaction with me when, I'm not there. And that increases the chance, I think, that they will think, hey, this could be a guy that can help us.
We're just going to take a short break.
Are your competitors stealing your spotlight with podcasts and a book? But you can have both. 8 high-quality podcast episodes and a published book, just from simple interviews. We do everything. You just need to show up. Click the link for more details. In the research you've been doing, you talk about finding the right audience and delivering that right message. How do you pitch to the right people? How do you know that you're pitching to the right audience? You're now filling seminars. Your seminars are packed now. And is it your second book now that's coming out?
Yeah, second book on the
second book, yeah. And what I like as well about you, David, you're honest. You're telling that story, the reality where we've all been there. I think you and me, our stories are very, very similar.
Sure.
How do you tell guys to kind of go, get that audience, and this is the message that you're delivering to them?
Well, I think it's a mixture. So for startups, there is a framework to follow. If you've got a small company and you think you can scale, then there are a lot of startup events, startup pitches, and so on. I think for somebody who's starting out on their own, I can only talk about my own experience and what I see from other people. And it's really, hunting the local meetups, the relevant meetups in your area, on meetup.com. That was the starting point for me. I would go to places and I would just go and say, I'm a pitch coach. And I had, honestly, I had very little skills or tools in the first 6 months that I could honestly say I was a pitch coach, but I would go there and talk about that and try to find out what kind of things that meant to people, whether people would be interested in that, what kind of people would be interested in it. And it's about just going out there and finding groups of potentially interested people and constantly looking for what works. If you're constantly looking to see, if you mention a sentence about what you think it's all about and you can see that people get it, that's one that you can just keep repeating. But if you're getting that kind of what you're talking about kind of thing, then that's something to change or to try to find out why they don't get it. So I think it's a never-ending task for somebody who's starting on their own, is pitching face-to-face, meetups, doing stuff online, communicating value. These are the ways to do it.
And also with yourself, that you're living in Amsterdam, you travel all over the world actually. When you started, and a lot of people that I speak to when I'm doing the one-on-ones, you want to tackle the startups. And I sort of say a lot of startups don't have any money.
Exactly.
So you could be running after these guys thinking it's a business plan, and you end up talking and not realizing they can't even pay you. And saying that, do you do one-to-ones, or do you base your business on seminars, or what's your workflow?
Well, these days it's turned into workshops and seminars, and it's very rarely on one-to-ones. In the early days, there was loads of one-to-ones, but that's because at that stage, to be honest, if someone said, "Will you do this?" I said yes, and if it was roughly pitch coaching, or even sometimes not pitch coaching, it was about business advice, I would just do it. And as I got more sure of what I was doing, I started to analyze, okay, where's the money coming from? What's the most efficient way to do this? I was also analyzing, how many people can I access here? How many people can I help? And if you can get 50 people in a room for a workshop, that's a lot of people that you can help. And I've designed my workshops to work for 100 people, 200, 300 people in a room. And so it means I can access more people. I get the tools out there, and one-to-ones is always a bit, I like to help people in that way, but it's limited and it's difficult to organize and so on. So I think one-to-ones helps you work out what it is that people really need, but gradually building the business into seminars and workshops has really helped.
Yeah, it's selling to the masses. Are you going to do something online?
I'm building an academy right now, and I've got a live academy. It's a simple subscription model, so it's actually really cheap monthly fee. And but I've got 2 courses on there at the moment. One about managing nerves, one about making a 1-minute pitch, and I'm just building a 3rd course, which is based on questions that I get, and I'm making short 2 or 3 minute movies of just talking on camera to answer those questions. And I'm getting questions from all around the world, actually, from Africa and New Zealand, and as well as the Netherlands.
What advice would you give? Someone calls you and say, look, I'm having a problem. I'm trying to get a message. What's the 3 tips that you would give someone?
Yeah, the first thing is to take one step back and think, who's the audience? What's the objective? So what are they interested in? And what do I really want these people to do? Do I want them to think differently, or is there some action I want these people to take? So that's the first step. The second thing is not get caught up into making presentations in PowerPoint. I recommend people to use Post-it notes to get the story out of their head and start to organize their thoughts before they start creating a presentation. So be able to tell that story verbally without any presentation, ideally. And then when you're in the phase of, okay, let's sit down around a table and present, don't get caught up in the PowerPoint stuff. Just work on getting the story straight. Then the third thing I recommend is strong open, strong close. So that there's, like we discussed, the first 20 seconds, that really matters. The last 30 seconds is also the first thing they will remember about you as a professional and you as a business. So getting it really clear on that opening and the closing, that really makes a difference, actually. Having a plan for both those really bookends the whole pitch.
I know you're in a hurry. You have another meeting coming up. Give us your details where people can log in and find all your information.
Yeah, it's best3minutes.com. So that's best, the number 3 and minutes.com. And that's the starting point.
And they can find you on LinkedIn as well.
They can also find me on LinkedIn. So just look for David Beckett. It's actually David Beckett Presentation Coach. And my book is called Pitch to Win. And it's everything I've learned in the last few years packaged in a book. All the tools that work for anybody to pitch their idea. I've left all the stuff that doesn't work out and finally just condensed it down to everything that I know works that helps people shine in their pitches.
And that's on Amazon, is it?
It's on Amazon as an ebook now. The print version will be available. And it's, as I say, called Pitch to Win.
Pitch you. And tell me, what's the best business advice you'd offer somebody?
Best business advice is get engaged with customers. Just don't be afraid to talk to customers, even if you don't have a finished product. Find out what it is that they're looking for and build it as you're talking to customers. And you have a much better chance of really creating something that they actually need and that they value.
Best business book you'd recommend?
Apart from my own. I think the best business book I've read is by a guy called Ryan Holiday. It's called The Obstacle is the Way. And it's all about overcoming difficulties. It's about how you address difficulties. And, there's a lot of cliches about you should have to fail and so on. But he really talked about practically, how do you deal with it when you've hit a brick wall? And that book is fabulous. It's called, as I say, it's Ryan Holiday, and it's called The Obstacle is the Way.
I'm delighted that we eventually got to speak. Unfortunately, it is short. Maybe we can do this again in a year or so.
Love to do that.
David, thank you for coming on to Breakthrough Brands, and I shall chat to you soon. Take care.
Delighted to be here.
Getting it wrong to get it right.